All right, good morning, guys. Welcome.
Morning.
Morning.
Today we want to discuss attracting new patients. I mean, they're the lifeblood of the practice, and you got to have them. How do you go out and get them?
Yeah.
Floor is
You,
yours.
you just you just you buy a really expensive sign, you turn it on, you unlock your door. Isn't that how that works?
Right. There you go.
Yeah, it's just that easy. Hang a shingle.
Put your shingle out and here they come, right?
I paid X amount of, well, nowadays, X amount of $100,000 for a diploma. Isn't that what it takes?
That's what a lot of
If it was
people.
easy, everybody could do it, though.
Oh my goodness, isn't that the truth?
And
Yeah.
that's the rub of it. Everybody thinks it's easy, and you
Yeah.
wonder why their practices don't grow.
I think like with anything else in our practice, it starts with intent, right? Where's your worldview? Where's your philosophy? And then, if that's the core you work from, then there are things you do, right? But if your intent's right, and the root of your desire is right, then those little things are easier to do. I think that's why it makes it so hard for some guys. How many times have you heard this? I don't want to sound like a used car salesman, right?
Right.
Well, I guess it's all in what you believe and why you're doing it, right? You're and then they get easier because there's I won't say less rejection because that's why most guys don't do it and gals don't do it because of the fear of that rejection. It's probably the same amount. It's just that it doesn't bother you, because you're 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 congruent, right? You're not sounding
Well,
contrived, right? That's the word I like to use. You're not sounding contrived.
yeah. You start with your intent, right, Mike? So your goal, what's your intention to serve, right? How are you going to serve?
Mhm.
Convert it to an affirmation, right? Now you repeat your affirmations. But most people then don't want to proverbial, move your feet when you pray, right? So take the action,
Right.
do it. So they also don't appreciate, and the salesman, that's really important. It's only sales if you don't believe in what you're selling, right? So if, there was a consultant years ago who used to say, write in the file, like our travel card, let's say, make notes that, oh, Bob Jones has two kids and his birthday's here, or he likes sports, or whatever it might be. And I was always like, you mean you got to write that down and remember it? Don't you know your patients, right? So
Yeah,
know your
right.
patients, and a lot of people have converted that into what do they call it now? Life effect, right? Which is
Mhm.
it's a good term of when they do their consultation. It's like I have low back pain. Well, yeah, but how's it affecting your life? Well, I can't play with my kids. I can't,
Right.
those are
Yeah.
things you need to know. And,
Yeah.
so that just because they've come up with a term for it for sales is meaningless, but you should know it because you care.
Yeah.
You have your intent, you have your affirmations, your goals. Now you
Right.
take the action steps. It becomes, then you have to find the action steps that are congruent or good for you. So
Right.
I was talking to my wife. I think I only did one or two external screenings in my time.
Hmm.
I was not good at it.
Right.
But I was good at asking for referrals. I was good at coming up with good campaigns internally, whether it was, for Valentine's Day or I love my Irish chiropractor, all these different things.
Right.
And to utilize, so, we're dating ourselves, whether it was the yellow pages and Penny Saver or your local page, external things. But the other part I was thinking about is people forget about all the internal, that everything counts inside your office, how you answer the phone.
Yeah.
Is your office clean? Like Mike, you had talked about, is your parking lot clean? Isn't have enough spaces? How do they answer the phone? What's the energy? And then you guys know my big thing. If you have five new patients walk in at the same time, can you
I
handle
need to
that?
handle it. Yeah.
Are you open to that? Are you
Hmm.
willing to figure it out or try? Right. And so many
Well,
people are. they stop right there, right?
Yeah.
They won't even try. Well, they won't even try it. Two new patients come in at the same time for guy. They much less a family. It's like, oh, I
Mhm.
want to be a family practice. Well, there's a family of five. Well, half of our profession would have to see them at different times over 5 different days. It
Yep.
makes no sense.
Yeah, it's interesting because first of all, one of the first things you said was like any salesman, you got to love your product. How many times did we hear the story, Brad, about Sid's pots and pans, right?
Oh yeah.
Or believe in full faith in the scripture before you can preach, right? I mean,
Right.
that's the baseline. That's where you have to work from. And then it's talent, right? And it's what you like to do too. You weren't good at screenings. The big part of that was probably because you didn't like them,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
I didn't mind them. I didn't like them because they took up time when I wasn't in the office, and it's just more time. But the reality is, for me, I wasn't bad at them, and they did generate some new patients. But that I don't know how much of that is valid today. I was listing out the things that I did when I was early on, and I did everything was early on. I had a motivator behind me called SIG, right? I did screenings at good gracious, barbecue events, flea markets, you name it. I actually did them in a bowling alley for a couple of months, which was probably the best place to do them.
Right.
They roll a ball two or three times, and then they've got to sit and wait for 20 minutes, right?
Right.
So I had a captive audience, and I even hired Dave Major to go out and do screenings for me. And dinner talks, right? We all did dinner talks. We did outside talks. We did, the PADs, the open houses. I think and I realized it a long time ago, was it wasn't about the actual event. It was about the energy that was created from it.
Yep.
Because I could go out and smoke a dinner talk and have 12 new patients, right? And probably keep 9 or 10 of them. Um, and I could blow uh, a screening, and that week I'd have 8 new patients, right?
Right.
Sorry about that.
Because
Um,
you were putting out the energy that
that's
you're
right.
open to new patients. I found that a lot of times we do these internal and external marketing plans, and they would or may not generate directly from the program, but because we sent that energy out there, the phone started ringing. People
Yeah.
started walking in looking for chiropractic care because we had a mission out there to attract as many new patients as we could
Hmm.
handle.
Yeah. Yeah. I,
Well,
I
you
do know that,
set a big goal, right?
yeah, the biggest thing for me was consistency. So I was constantly told to have a marketing calendar, and you had your daily things on there, which I would write down, which would be, ask for referrals, but they were built into the scripting, right? That's what you were talking about a little while ago. They were built into my scripting. Certainly a workshop once a week. I mean, it was a call to action at the end where people actually gave me names, right? Um, and card days, right? I learned that. I don't know, Terrence, I got that from you, right? Or from Fred. I had a card day every week.
Right.
Um, it was just about consistency, and that consistency created the energy.
So talk a
Um,
little bit about the marketing calendar, the 12-month marketing calendar.
So my marketing calendar, and I guess I don't know where we learned this or where I learned it. It could have been from CJ. I know early on I had something from Smalling and Humble that my uncle gave me. But the marketing calendar was a calendar that had every outside event, everything that I was doing. And early on I had a copy for the team that was in the back. There was always a weekly thing, there was always a monthly thing. And there was always a quarterly thing, and quarterly things were the big events, right? Like the St. Patty's Day thing, or whatever. They were really big. I
Fourth of
had Fourth
July.
of July PADs that I would have 600, 700 people at. The local soccer team, the fire department, hot air balloons, and I'd walk away from those events seeing, I don't know, 300 people that day, and I think the large 32 new patients, in a day. Figure out how to do that week, right?
Right.
Hold your nose and jump into the deep end, right? Don't. If I had to wait for the team to do that, I would have never done it, right?
Correct.
And I stand those patients are still in the office. Did I blow some out? Absolutely. But I learned from it, right? And they came back. So, you know, um, but the marketing calendar was, and I would actually put a calendar in. I got this from, I don't know where I got this from, honestly. I would put a calendar out at the front desk so the patients could see my schedule and what I was doing outside of the office. Um, yeah.
No, we had a calendar. So we had theme of the month, whatever,
Mhm.
themes of the month, and that would be what we had on a bulletin board. Could be kids, could be car accidents, could be back pain, could
Yeah.
be organic health. There was a theme of the month. There was same. We had a posted calendar with our hours. If there was a special event, when our healthcare talks were, uh, this was when my sis Carrie was there. What she might be doing. She might work an extra Saturday that month. Day she was going to be in. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
all those things were ongoing. We had a handout every week. We had 4 cards on
Newsletters,
Monday.
right?
Uh, we would try to do an internal talk as well, then on either nutrition or again kids, or we had a warrior parenting, we had warrior training, we had uh, every nutrition, how to sleep better, all those things. Even when Terrence started, he did a talk a month on all those different topics, goal setting, weight loss, right, everything. And I remember we would probably get about 20 people at each talk. And oftentimes when you're doing those talks, it's the same 20 people, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
right.
which is fine. And we also were doing a postcard to our mailing list, so a couple thousand a month of, uh, again, I'll say they were researchy. It was really for me, my kind of neuro brain. And I remember Terrence saying, we didn't really get any from any of those directly. But the energy thing, the practice grew 25%,
Mhm.
right? Pushed us back over whatever, 250 a day
Yeah.
or whatever it might be. That, and there was no direct correlation of like, oh, I got this many from this health talk or nutrition talk or this postcard, right? Whatever. It just was, we were putting out
Yeah.
energy, information, and we were excited about it. He was excited about the talks, and I was excited about a postcard, the information we were getting out there, even if nobody read it. It was somewhere, it was out in the ether, and we were saying what was going on. So,
You fall in love with a newsletter or a postcard or whatever you're doing, and it doesn't really hit, it doesn't land to the people you sent it to, but it drives you to say the right things for a week, right?
right. Well, the best handouts I ever did, and I occasionally find them, would be like ones where I saw a quote or a story, and I cut it out quickly, taped it to a piece of paper, wrote something on the side. This is what this means, right? And
Yeah.
made 300, 200 or 300 copies and handed that out because I was excited about it.
Yeah.
And I
Yep.
was excited to try, and yeah, so same that every referral, same. I gave that It Works, the little red book, sent to every, thank you for a referral. And I can remember, I probably gave out, I don't know how many thousands of those. How few people ever said, "Oh, that was great."
Yeah.
But I always was like, well, if one person finally said it, that must mean 100 loved it, right?
Yeah. Right.
Which is
Exactly.
true. So,
You
but
know,
it's really that everything counts, Brad. And it was that I would say your internal, your external. I used to have a
external.
checklist: internal,
Hmm.
external,
Hmm.
and then your environment.
Yep.
What's the environment that you're creating? Is your, even like you said, always be looking. Is your staff paying attention when somebody says they're better or worse, or they have a friend, or whatever it might be, or I was in a car accident, any number of things. It's just that energy. And then I still say that on the day two, handing out, I know different strategies, but we just gave 4 cards and tried to make it special. Here's 4 cards. This is for your family. It's good for a free exam and free x-rays. It's good for
Mhm.
2 weeks.
Mhm.
Anybody today you'd like to make an appointment for,
Right. We did the same
right?
thing. We had a
You know,
2 week rule.
yep. Some people have I've seen gold tickets or
Yeah.
coupons, and I
Yeah.
mean, I've seen all kinds of
It
things.
all works. It's what you like.
Yeah, we did a card and asked. And then if they gave you, like if they signed their family up, it'd be like, all right, here's 4 more cards for your coworkers or what,
Yeah.
was that sort of thing. So that every new patient should equal at least two,
Yeah.
right? If not four, right? Or something, whatever number you assign to it, right? Are you claiming a tenfold return or a hundredfold return?
Yeah.
Whatever, what are you asking for? What's your intent? What are you claiming? What are you asking for?
We had I think Brad, you probably did this for a while. I don't know if you did it. At the end of the workshop, we had a lead sheet.
Hmm.
We would take people's names, and I would not contact the person. I would ask the patient at the workshop for them to talk to the patient and ask them how they wanted me to contact them.
Right.
Email, letter, phone call. Uh, I guess it's equally as successful as anything else, right? You know?
Get out there.
And for the younger chiropractors that happen to watch this, because some of this sounds like so old school, I'm going to say two things. One is old school still works.
Right.
The thing about old school is your return on an investment is huge because you're not spending any real money, you
Correct.
know? If you're doing a print ad, I don't know anybody does print ads anymore. But social media right now is, if you're doing it yourself, it's relatively free. I don't think that most chiropractors can do it themselves. It's tough. It's tough in generating content. It's tough in presenting that content because, like you just don't do that. That's not your
Right.
thing. Um, and I think it's also tough timing wise because, it takes more effort to do that than just give an ad to somebody. But does it work? Yeah, it works.
Right.
Probably the thing this big old external marketing thing that works, but you have to do it, you know? And
Well, it's the new yellow pages, right? It's the
it,
new yellow page.
Correct.
yeah,
We had to do yellow
we
pages.
had to.
At
Yeah.
We
at
had
the
to.
time, yep. You
And
didn't.
our
And it
local
was,
paper, our local
and
print ad paper, we had to do it.
yeah,
Penny
I don't know.
saver, whatever it was.
I mean, and it was not, I mean, our yellow pages was not cheap. It was
No,
a
no,
couple $1,000s a month.
the
So
most expensive thing that I did.
yeah, the same thing. So if that extrapolates, there's lots of people out there with and that's, so anybody watching, I'd be like, go do social media. Let somebody do it for you.
Let somebody
You may
do
have
it
to
for you.
experiment.
Yep. Listen,
Uh,
you can do your own website, which I think is you have to, because I think the website is kind of like I'll liken it to the yellow pages. Somebody would say time and time again to see, Adeo Chiropractic, Dr. Mike Martin. They wouldn't know who I was or where I was, but they'd go pick up the yellow pages and there I was, right? It's kind of the same with the website now. If they
yep,
say, hey, go see McCullough Chiropractic, they'll Google it, right? And then the website comes up.
yep,
And Brad was talking to me about this a couple of weeks ago. And you have to have some content on there. It can't be these long paragraphs
no,
because people don't want to read.
Mm-mm.
right,
So your content has to be little little videos of you telling you who you are and things like that. That's what works best now.
right,
All right, you know, I'd rather do that. Rather talk to a camera than sit down and write 17 paragraphs,
right,
you know. And if you don't want to do it, Chat GBT or some AI right now, they'll create the content for you. It's,
right.
it's not difficult.
Just have
Um,
to be consistent with it. You
well, I
need.
said that, right. You have to be consistent. And
I was
I know,
I was
what's
agreeing
his
with you.
name? What's his first name? Zano, Chris, right?
Yep.
He has he has a company or is part company of something called Clinic Growth Accelerator. They'll do your multimedia ads for you. And right now, I think they're doing the best job.
Yeah, I don't know if that's the same guy that Jeff Van Kempen saying there's some
There's a
couple people
lot
out
of
there.
people out there doing it. You just got to, like anything, you got to find the one that fits you, right? Fits your budget, fits your philosophy, fits whatever. And my buddy Derek Wilcox in Asheville, Ohio, he's doing his own. I think, and his content is as good or better than most. But then you got to find the production guy in your office that'll help you do that,
Right.
right?
Go ahead, Brad. You were going to say something.
I'm sorry, Brad.
There was just three things that I focused on in my heyday in practice, and one was um, the 14-day rule.
Yeah.
Is that making sure every family member was checked from the new patients. The second thing was at each reexamination, I asked three questions. Are you pleased with your care? Are you still committed to correcting these subluxations? And who do you know that could benefit from chiropractic?
Yeah.
And then they got a referral packet and we got their name and the number. And then we told them to expect a call from us. I like what you said, Mike, and when at the end of the lead sheet, where you said, ask them how they would best prefer to be
Yep.
contacted. That's gold. And the last thing I did, and I got this from Patsy and Sig, and they would ask me how many patients have you seen? And
Mm.
I tell you what, the biggest and most successful marketing program I ever had was when I was visualizing new patients, visualizing that the office was full, that everybody was happy, the phone was ringing, uh, credit cards and checks and cash I tried to be as specific as possible. And it was amazing when we did that as a team, how that just opened the floodgates.
Yeah. It's funny you say I had a memory. You guys remember way back before when our appointment books were actually books, big
Yeah.
books, and we were
Yeah.
writing the names in. I'm pretty sure it was Sig that told me just make up some names and fill in the book.
Right.
You can talk about visualizing something, a storyboard, right? And we
Right.
actually made up names, and we literally had a person call and schedule whose name was already written in the book.
Yep.
And the made up name, right?
Right.
You talk about putting energy out, right? And the universe responding. The universe has to respond to it. It's just what it does. But
Doors a
yeah,
vacuum.
Yeah.
yep.
When you put that energy out, I know same. I know I told your son to do this, Brad, that, for new patients, you should take an old paper book and where are you going to put 15 new patients in a week or 20 or whatever, their exam and their x-rays and report, how's it going to look, right? Uh, and they're not all going to come at exactly the right time. They all want to come, right? How's it going to be? You're going to have a family here and then here, whatever it might be, and have fun with it. But the same thing with a paper book on adjustment, right? That was fun. The old paper book. We had a
Yeah,
big,
man.
right? And
Tangible.
yeah, that you could see what it would look like. How I will say too, the one of our biggest breakthroughs, which I've said before, was when we went from the paper to the computer. And that was one staff person who was computer savvy. I remember the other staff was not, and she was. And she said, "Why are we writing all these down?" And we were like 800 a week at the time. And she said, "This computer has infinite capacity." Like
Yeah.
she was like, "I can see it, and I don't have to erase and all
Yeah.
this." And I said, "All right, let's do it." And I mean, that took us to 1,000 a week, just that
Yeah.
one step,
Yeah.
because it opened
That's
up
your hole in
her
the bucket,
capacity.
man. Yeah, your
Yeah,
capacity block.
it was massive. So again, when you do those things and you can see it, it's very powerful.
Mhm.
Good practice. I know I told Sam that I've shared that before with many people. It's like so important to have a picture of it, and then the practice. Go in your office and just move around. And how fast can you adjust the table?
Right.
Let's check it. There it is. And move. How fast can you adjust or have some Saturday and pick your best 25 people or whatever, or offer them a free adjustment or whatever, and just say, come at
Literally.
9 o'clock,
Yeah.
everybody. And, for Sam, it'd be like, how fast can you adjust those 25 or 30 people? Just so you get a feel of it, whatever it is. I mean, I had a friend, a colleague, Jim um, Flood, and he was always like, he was never going to see 100 in a day, he felt like. And I said, well, come on over.
Yeah, right.
And I forgot he did it. He said he came and I let him adjust 100 people so he could just knock that off his bucket list because for some reason it wasn't going to happen for him. So, yeah, find out, but those things are powerful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Pick
It's
a
funny.
script, then do it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Through all the years, I've had docs say, I just can't get any new patients to come in the door. And I'd say, you're right. You're right. You just said it. I can't get, I can. I know people in your same town that can. So if you're going to say I can't, then you're right. You can't.
Right.
I'm going to give you the tools to do it, but you, they're there. They've been coming in chiropractor's door for, hundreds of years now. So yeah.
Or even worse, they say I can't get any good new patients. You know, the new patient is supposed to be good when they walk in the door. And I looked at this one guy I was coaching years ago, and I said, "There's no such thing as a good new patient.
You create
It's
them, man.
only a patient. You got to create them."
Right.
Yeah. It's an interesting thought, Brad, because if I think about all the marketing that I did through the years, external mostly, I could probably a hierarchy the let's call them better patients, right? Not so much good. And those ones that came from telemarketing were the worst.
Right.
Right.
Screenings were a little bit better. Uh, Dinner talks were actually a little bit better than that. And let's face it, referral patients are the best.
Are the best.
Yeah,
Yep.
they're the best. They're coming in
Absolutely.
because they heard a story, right?
And the cheapest, the
Yeah,
least
yeah,
expensive,
yeah.
That's the thing.
Yeah, you didn't
Best
really
return
pay
on
for them.
investment
Mm,
is asking for those referrals. What
right.
we had a minimum of 10% a day that we would ask.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I think again, if for people watching and being like, you got to figure out your external. If you're opening
Yeah,
or
it's
you're
different.
struggling, go do something external, i.e., one of those social media companies or whatever.
Yeah,
And some of them guarantee what X amount, 20 per month or whatever. But your mission has to be then to convert those 20 to
absolutely.
make that 40. And in addition to that, who else are you asking for a referral? So all of a sudden, if you then ask your patient base and you get five more from all of a sudden you're, between 40 and 45 new patients per month, which is really what you want to do
Yeah.
to stretch yourself, build your base, but then don't ever stop that. That's
right.
what that's so often where
Yeah, don't stop.
people take their foot off the gas
Yeah.
and are the worst. Oh, I got this down. It's like, oh, okay, you're better than me, but
Yeah.
and keep your foot on the gas, right? Do it, go for it.
Yeah. And then the universe says, "What have you done for me lately?" And then starts taking them away from you, right?
Right,
Yeah, no question.
And I think you hit the nail on the head, Terrence, when you said that how do you process those patients? Because it's not only the new patient procedures, but the follow-up preparation for the doctor's report, and
It's the
then the
one.
workshops, and then getting your paperwork done in a timely manner. If you don't do that, the universe is going to shut everything off.
So listen, why isn't that one of our topics then? Conversion.
You could do that next
Yeah.
time.
How did we convert a new patient to a good patient?
All right.
What our percentages was and things like that. Because quite frankly, um, you've got to work really hard not to get six new patients a week. You got to work really hard not to, right?
right.
That means you're not doing anything. And to get to the magic number of, I'll call it eight. I think it's eight. Eight's a magic number to continue growth.
Mm-hmm.
You got to work a little bit. Got to do
You
some
have
of
to send
this.
out that positive energy because
Got to be the energy, right? And you
that's
got that energy has to transfer to your team too, because
right.
as somebody that's seeing 800 a week, 1,000 a week, you need that support, man. You need to be
Oh
able
yeah.
to look at the team and go, hey, it's you have to ask for referrals today. You know, I've got 200 plus on the book or 200 on the book. So
Well, just think if you have, I always say 10 new patients a week. If you have 10 and your retention's 100, that's 1,000 a week.
yeah, I know.
So just keep working from that aspect. And
Yeah.
it'll take time, but you keep feeding the fire, feed the
Yeah,
fire, keep honing your skills, keep that urgency and intent and action and affirmation.
that's
It
it.
it will come. I mean,
That's it.
and then after a while, you don't need as many. Now that can take 20 years, but you build that base, and yeah, some people come back, some people leave, then they come back.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
all of a sudden, and then in the middle there, when I had nobody with me, all of a sudden, you get 25 a month and you're still staying at that
yeah,
level
yeah.
because you just don't need that many. They're all referrals.
Yeah, well, you get to that point and your retention is so high that you don't need that many. And look, the reality, let's be realistic. When you're in a 30-year practice, there is some momentum that you've built up that a lot of this external stuff doesn't really have to happen because
Correct.
the intensity is there, the momentum is there, the intention is there, everything is there. But and how what do I want to say? And the fact that you've at that age, we've probably surrendered to everything, right? And not questioned it and just doing the things that we know that have worked for 30 years. So we used to say it's simplicity on the far side of complexity, right?
Yep.
But you got to get there first.
Yep. Yep.
And if it
Definitely.
was easy, everybody would do it, but it's not. So,
Well, and even what Mike said, you still got to keep your foot on the gas.
mhm.
Yeah.
It's not all this external marketing. It's all your energy internally and your
Yep.
intent. It's actually you actually move to a higher level of service and healing, right? Because you actually have built more faith in your own
You've gotten out of the
ability.
way.
Correct. You get your educated out of the way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you've gotten out of the
Totally.
way.
Yeah.
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 I say all the time, and this is appropriate, that this chiropractic thing, it's easy. It's a truth. It's easy.
Right.
What's difficult is showing up every day in your marketing, showing up every day in your disciplines and your planning. Chiropractic is it's a truth. I mean, almost everybody, if we tell it right, will get it. You got to be able to do that, right? You got to be able to do it consistently,
Or at least
energetically.
stick around long enough for them to
Yeah.
experience it. I don't know if they ever really get it, but
I agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, there's no
yeah.
question, right? The old Mary story, right?
Yeah.
So I think it was BJ said that those that don't advertise will be advertising their practice for sale.
Right.
And
Right.
it's it's the truth, you know. So
Yeah. And you are the best advertisement, right?
yes, you are.
Yep.
Who you are.
Walk
Yep.
the talk,
Yep.
be the tick, blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
Are you congruent with, that
Yep.
was so big. If you leave the practice and you're um, pounding ibuprofen and,
Yeah. Right.
right, whatever, you don't practice people will see through you. That's the other failure for a lot of our
I don't know.
practitioners. They
Absolutely.
Yep.
fail to
Yep.
walk the talk. Yeah, it's hard. It's challenging
Hmm.
because like I said, it's bad crap crazy out here, right? There's
Yep.
people always trying to undo us. So anyway, all right. So conversion next time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Let's do
let's
conversion.
wrap this up just to put it in a nice little package with a bow on it. Number one is the intent.
Yep.
Number two is preparation, both internally and externally, and consistency in education. Working your process so that you can process the number of patients and staying focused.
Right.
Anything else to add to that?
I think if you put all those things together, the bow would say energy, right?
Energy.
Yeah.
All right,
So,
guys.
All
yep.
right.
Appreciate your time.
Cool.
We'll talk in
Yep.
2 weeks and we'll
Thanks,
talk
guys.
about conversions next time.
All righty. See
All
you
See you
right.
guys.
then.
Hey, snuggle those grandkids,
I
man.
will.
Yeah, there you
Thanks,
go.
man. All right. Bye.
See
Bye
ya.
now.